really going back to the grassroots and just remembering that people are people, right? They like receiving communication. Like if you treat your client like an actual relationship and not like your money bank, it's just like you treat people like they're people. And that's one of the philosophies that we have within our agency is just checking in on our clients. Like that's what business really is. It's all about creating just beautiful organic relationships.
All right, welcome back, guys. This is Todd Robinson, host of the Robinson Review podcast. We have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Lindsey Stockall. She is a performance marketing strategist, founder of her own company, Stockall & Co., where she really helps founders scale through paid ad, media buying, and not vanity metrics. So this is an episode you want to listen into if you're interested in getting into the scaling game when it comes to online advertising, online media, which is really where everyone is getting most of their clients and most of their leads these days. We have an expert right here for you that's going to give us a lot of game, a lot of value. So Lindsey, great to have you on. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So you're in the West Coast. I just realized it's probably a lot earlier there now.
She's 8 a.m. here, but I'm an early riser, so I'm already on coffee number 2. So we're totally, yeah.
Most of the West Coast people I meet are like, they get up at like 4, 5, 6 o'clock because they're kind of on East Coast time. Like business kind of starts at 9 o'clock on the East Coast.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly right. I'm up, very early to accommodate that side of the business, and honestly wouldn't have it any other way because I like to go to bed early. So it's
right.
It's my lifestyle very, very well.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, this podcast is really formatted to really kind of give a lot of advice to the entrepreneurs out there, to people. It's life, law, and the pursuit of wealth. So, those are kind of my topics, and I obviously can handle the law piece, but I'm interested in learning more about kind of people's life stories. What got them to where they are now? What was that trigger in you that wanted you to go out on your own, right? That spark to kind of start your own company. And I know we talked before jumping on that at one point you were in a lot of debt and probably didn't know which way you were going to go. So give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of kind of how you got started in this business.
Yeah, of course. So I was a corporate marketing director for a regional salon spa, Medi-Spa organization back in Atlanta, Canada. So I was there for about 6 years and got myself into a suffocating amount of consumer debt, just keeping up with the Joneses, living outside of my lifestyle. And at that point, I started, we'll say it side hustling, freelancing, in addition to working a 9 to 5 with the goal of paying down the debt. That's where it stemmed from. And I was able to do it in about 18 months. So I paid off tens of thousands of dollars fairly quickly because I put my nose to the ground and just did it.
Yeah.
Did the work.
Right. And what was the side hustle you were doing?
Marketing. So primarily social media management. So that was our biggest shtick at the time. And I say it was just me at the time. We've now grown to an agency of 10 individuals, but at the time it was just myself taking on clients that knew of me. And then when COVID happened, the beauty industry shut down. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And so my clients kind of put the word out that if you want a great marketer, Lindsey's, the one to talk about. So we were then expanded into ads as well. Because I was doing that corporately, but it just kind of came second to the social media piece of it. And then I fell in love. I fell in love with the entrepreneur game. I loved that it was all on me, that I was relying on myself for my income. And I loved helping business owners actually get results in marketing. Like that really fueled me because I went into it originally, just as I said, to pay off my debt. And I was like, I love this. I was like, I get to help people increase their wealth through marketing and actually doing things properly, creating those systems. And the more I did it, the more addicted I became to it. And then it just snowballed into social, to ads, to website design, development, search engine optimization. And I just started geeking out over the data side. And then that's really when the company took off, is when we really leaned into data and systems to support marketing.
So really a full-scale digital marketing agency now, right? But you started it I think I heard you said you started it as a side hustle, but then COVID kind of shut down the med spa. Is that right? I mean, shut down your primary business, and then you had to make a choice, right? Where are you gonna go find another job, sit at home and sulk, or turn this into something, bigger than yourself that you're in charge of, right?
That's it, and it was obviously when that happened, when you're in debt by myself, I don't have a family who can, financially support me. I didn't have a partner, and I'm grateful that I didn't, because it really made me into the entrepreneur that I am today, because I can say this confidently, I'm completely self-made from my own efforts. And sorry, I lost the train of thought there. I lost the question as I started going
Yeah,
into
no,
that.
no. So what we're talking about is that moment in time when your W-2 shut down, you were doing this side hustle. A lot of people would get scared. A lot of people would say, "Oh, I can't go out on my own. Like, how am I going to pay my bills? Where are the clients going to come from?" And I'll just go find another job, right? I'll find something else. And instead of that, you leaned in to the entrepreneurial game and said, "I'm going to go for it," right? And started your own company.
That's it. And I actually had when they temporarily laid everyone off corporately, my business had completely taken off because I was able to do such incredible work. So when the industry was being, on and off and going back and forth, working and not working, at one point I was working a full-time corporate job while servicing 40 hours of client work. And I was a Pilates girl as well at the time. So I was teaching a few Pilates classes, just because I love movement, but that's a talk for a whole other time. But at that time, I was actually offered my dream job. At that point, it was at an agency. It was a large scale B2B agency, and they offered me a dream position that anyone would have been crazy to turn down. And so my parents told me, they're like, "You're absolutely Looney Tune, like turning this down." And when you get that feeling in your gut, and it's like, am I scared, or is this the right thing? Like when you're like at that like pivotal kind of point. So I sat with it for a little bit, and I realized, I was like, I'm just scared. Like my intuition, because a woman's intuition is never wrong. I was like, my
It's true.
intuition is true, true.
It's
Um,
true.
so like sat with it, and I was like, you're just scared. You're scared of not having security, not having structure, of what a full time and FTE position would be. So I respectfully turned down the role, sent email to my boss at the time, giving my resignation that I won't be coming back, when they brought everyone back in a full time capacity, and then launched my website, made a post on LinkedIn, and it'll be 5 years ago in June.
Wow. Now, do you have any entrepreneurs in your family? Like anybody that in your life, I don't know if your parents are business owners or entrepreneurs, anyone that you can point to that has done this before you in your family?
My parents worked corporate, so it wasn't in their DNA. Which was, I mean, my father had a family business right before it shut down, right when my sister and I were very, very, very little. But other than like my uncle, they were full time corporate. You do the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which was the advice that I was getting at that time, was, don't do this. You're crazy. Full time is secure. And I was just like, I'm just gonna really listen to myself and make a decision for me, and I leaned into it, and it was like, my only regret is not doing it sooner.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and the reason why I ask is because I've in interviewing entrepreneurs and interviewing people who have made this leap, in the pursuit of wealth, I've you come across, you wonder how much of a familial influence it plays, right? For me, like my dad is a psychologist. He's retired now, but he's got his PhD in psychology, and he ran a private practice for 40 years. And when I was growing up, I was like, okay, cool. Like he has a job, he runs a private practice. I had no idea until I became a business owner. I got into law school. I was like, no, he was an actual like entrepreneur, right? Like he started his own business. He had to go get his own clients. He had to get his name out in the community so people could come give him referrals. And I'll never forget this one story where I was at his office and he was like literally behind a typewriter typing. This is back in the day. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm typing a letter to this doctor who referred a client to me. And I was like, okay, why are you doing that? And he's like, well, it's a part of marketing. And I wanted to thank them for the referral in hopes that they'll give me more. And if they get a personal letter from me, it's going to mean a lot. Okay, Dad, whatever you're talking about, don't really care. I was a kid. And then now I'm like, oh my God, like those are like, back in the early 90s, right? Those are the marketing techniques to bring in referrals and bring in business, right? And so that's so cool that you just bet on yourself. I mean, I was saying we just recorded another one, another episode, and no one's going to toot your own horn, right? You've got to, you've got to go after it yourself. You've got to toot your own horn. No one's going to do it for you, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, which most people aren't. Um, so that's awesome. So what were the kind of the biggest fears that you had when you started this company?
Yeah, and I wanna just say something just about your experience with your dad and watching that referral marketing, like, that is, I believe, why my business is in the place that it is because it's relationship based, and I think because of technology and how easy it is to send an email, send a text, close out a contract, start a new one, like, really going back to the grassroots and just remembering that people are people, right? They like receiving communication. Like if you treat your client like an actual relationship and not like your money bank, it's just like you treat people like they're people. And that's one of the philosophies that we have within our agency is just checking in on our clients. Like we had a client, do this absolutely insane video testimonial all because I just sent a nice check-in because personally there was some things going on in her life that I was just like I just want to check in to see how she's doing regardless if we're on there or not. And then, she has 250,000 followers on social media and just did this beautiful testimonial without me even asking just because I cared. So I think that there is something to be said about your father's approach and the old school referral marketing, but it's coming from relationships, and that's what business really is. It's all about creating just beautiful organic relationships.
Right. I mean, in this day and age, everything's online. It's so hard to have that personal touch, I feel like. Everyone's behind a everyone's behind a camera, everyone's behind a Zoom, behind a computer. How do you actually have that personal touch? So what I mean, checking and even in my I mean, you're in a service-based business, right? You're providing a service. Even in my law practice, I'm a service-based business, right? I'm providing legal services to clients, you know, um, or in my mentorship, right? I'm providing mentorship services to people looking to grow and scale their real estate portfolio. I always tell whenever I hire associates or anyone who works for me, I say you are no different than the waitress at a diner, right? Your customer is always right. They are the client. Your job is to bend over backwards and make them happy, right? And do a good job. And sometimes it even just and I always say to my client, my associates too, our clients better not call us to check in and see what the status is of their case, right? You need to be proactive and reaching out to them and giving them updates, right? I'm sure the same philosophy applies in your line of work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our thing is we have a 2-day response time, but no client email gets unanswered on a Friday. Like, inbox is cleaned up on a Friday, and one of the other that I have my team is like, "If we're gonna do a Zoom call, your camera is always on." Regardless if the client's is off, I was like, "We are always camera on because it's a relationship and it's a respect to the other person." That's just how I see it. And so it's just like, unless, you're super sick and you're not, you're just a passive attendee to the meeting taking notes. But if you're leading the call, it's like your camera is on.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I didn't think about that, we're, obviously in Rich's group together and, we were on the call yesterday where or I was literally putting the babies to bed on Tuesday, but and I was on the call, but I didn't have my camera on. And were you on that one where he was like, I hate nothing more than talking to number letters on the screen and people turn your cameras on.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just like, just engage, right? And
Yeah.
there was I forget who it was, but one of the guys was on a treadmill and he's like, "I'm just putting my steps on here." That's like,
Well, I got on
right?
for a second and I like had my baby on my arms and I was like, yeah, I'm like about to go give her a bath. Like I can't really get on right now.
That's different. That's different. It's like you still want to consume the content and not miss out on the call, but also like life happens. So it's that human, piece of it is like if we're just sitting there, if I'm going to be on a call, I'm going to be on a call. But if it's professional personal development and I have, something, I had, I don't have children, but like off like that, I'm going to do that and turn the camera off, but still listen.
Yeah, I mean, we host calls every Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm implementing that next Tuesday because everyone has their camera off. I'm like, guys, get your camera on. Like, engage in this process.
Mhm,
Yeah,
and it just
jeez.
creates momentum and energy versus just because even, like, I've done virtual keynotes, and
Mm,
it's challenging to bring energy when you can't see people's reactions, right? So it's like, I'm too gauge a crowd, it's like I like to see people's reactions, and that also helps me pivot my content or what I want to talk about because I can see people if they're understanding it, they're engaging in it, they're kind of dozing off. So I need to change things up. So it's helpful for the person on the other end as well.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so how did you land your first paying clients? Man, I think you said earlier it was referrals, but what strategies worked for you to go out and market your services and bring in clients?
My very first client before I started full time was referral. It was through social media. So a friend of a friend posted on their Instagram story that they were looking for a social media and influencer marketer for like fractional for their clothing brand. So I slid into their DMs and the rest was history. And then the same thing happened with my second was someone was looking for a full-time job. I just opened up the conversation to see what that would look like, and it turned into a fractional marketing piece for me. So just really putting myself out there and seeing an opportunity outside of what may be posted. And one of my clients is an executive coach, specifically leadership coach for women. And I forget the exact stat that she shares, but men will apply to jobs if they meet only, I think, 60% of the qualifications, where females have to meet like 100, close to 100 before they're
Internally, females think I can't apply for this job unless I meet 100% of the qualifications. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely
exactly.
true.
Yeah. It's like a leadership it is, right? But with me, I was like, "Ooh, I could do this if they're open to doing something different." So I had no problem just starting a conversation and asking and creating that relation because it doesn't you're never gonna nothing's there's nothing wrong with just asking the question. So that's what I started doing. And then I did such a great job with these clients that they started referring me to their friends who knew they're like, "Oh, Lindsay's amazing at marketing, at ads, at social, at copywriting, at graphics." And then it just snowballed from there. The biggest piece was honestly posting on LinkedIn. That what I would say would be my biggest referral network would be my LinkedIn audience. Just posting, saying this is what I do, posting testimonials, sharing my thought leadership and convictions when it comes to marketing and ads and choosing a right provider, just educating. And that's where a lot of the pieces came from. As I said, I'm originally from Canada, currently in America right now. But I built my business on the East Coast of Canada just through reputation and relationships alone.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's so important. My students that come through the mentorship, a lot of them, some of them have a social media presence, but most of them don't. And the first thing I say to them is, no one is going to invest with you. A, if they can't find you online, or B, if you're not using that platform to display your expertise, right? And even if you're not an expert, and I always say I have this axiom with my group. It's like you fake it till you make it. Right? Have no shame in researching a topic and then posting it and seeming like an expert, right? Obviously, don't oversell yourself, but the people that are consuming this content, they don't necessarily need to know, oh, I haven't done a real estate deal yet, but here I am posting about macroeconomic issues in a certain market, right? But it doesn't matter, right? Because you do that enough, and people will start. You will become an expert, and B, people will start seeing you as one.
And it's not that you're not an expert, it's just you're putting your own take on something that's newsworthy or something that, connects. And that's one thing that I speak about a lot. And I have to tone it down sometimes because it lights me up. Marketing is not a regulated industry, like legal, right? So literally anyone can call themselves a marketer. Anyone, can pick up a camera and say they're a content creator, right? Like a videographer, an editor, and I've seen so many small businesses because that's who we started working with. And it's part of a passion for me to help small businesses really grow, in addition to our other client portfolio. But seeing clients who, don't have a large marketing budget and they're trusting the person that they hire, and the person they hire just lies and say, "Oh, yeah, I can do this. I know how to do this." And they don't. So, one of my pillars on LinkedIn is educating my audience on the right questions to ask to empower yourself to make sure that you are hiring someone who actually knows what they're doing. We can never promise results, that would be completely unethical. But for asking your marketing provider, the people you're interviewing, certain questions, you can tell who's real and who's not, right? Because anyone can be an expert on social media, but it's up to the client to do due diligence to kind of sort out, the good from the bad.
Mm. Yeah, I never thought about that, that marketing is not a regulated industry, you know? It's interesting though. I mean, I think some professions are, like, the marketing in that profession. Like, for instance, as a lawyer in the legal profession, I can't go market myself as a criminal attorney and go
You
try
have
to get. Yeah, I mean, it's the state bar regulations, really. Like, you can't go out and you can't take on you could be disbarred, right? You can't take on a client of which you have no expertise how to represent them, right? But you have the leeway to go learn, right? I mean, you can go if I wanted to be a criminal lawyer, I could go take 15 CLEs or continuing legal education hours and call myself a criminal lawyer, and right, and be completely fine.
right.
So
Right. 'Cause
that's so
you check.
interesting. Yeah.
Mhm, and we'll
Well,
I thought where you were going with that, I thought you meant, like, marketing regulations, because in Canada, we worked with a lot of, direct to consumer, like, beauty brands, people in the, like, medical spa, injections, prescription drugs, and in Canada, you're actually not allowed to do any direct to consumer advertising through any type of medical prescription drug. So we couldn't even put a billboard up that says, like, "We do Botox," like you can do here in America. Like, you're not allowed to do that. It's very highly regulated.
yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think that's really good.
I think, again, that might be a conversation for another day,
That's
but
another
having
podcast episode.
having a marketer who understands your industry's rules, right? And what you can and cannot advertise, and then also understanding the platforms and what you can and cannot advertise on the platforms when it comes to ads. So I know we'll chat about that, but our biggest pillar is advertising, like paid ads on Meta and on Google, and knowing the industry and what you can and cannot do so you don't get in trouble with the board. But then also understanding the platform so that you don't violate any policy terms or conditions, and then your ad account gets shut down, which no one likes that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a big problem. Well, let me ask you this. When you started, what are some mistakes that you made?
Oof. I would say ego would be my biggest mistake, and just learning that falling forward and taking accountability for your work is everything. Because I think it came from just stemming as, like, as a child, like, always wanting to people please and do the right thing. It's like, you can't be wrong. Like, you can't be wrong. But it's as a business owner, we're wrong all the time. We make mistakes and we're human. And it's how we pick ourselves up and communicate those mistakes, right? So if something happens, just be in communication, take accountability and make it right. And then you learn, the client or the team member respects you. So that's what I teach my team members. I was like, you can make mistakes. Mistakes happen. Like, don't be afraid of making a mistake. Like, you don't know until you do it. But my biggest thing is, if you're going to make a mistake, I want you to come to me and say, I fucked up. This is what happened. This is why it happened. This is what I'm doing to fix it. And this is what I'm going to do moving forward so it doesn't happen again. Perfect. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I find a lot of leaders, and that also was stemming from, like, my past corporate, like, never being allowed to, like, make mistakes. And then you just get, like, paralyzing fear of doing anything. But it's like, we're humans. We make mistakes, we experiment, we try things, but it's how you come back from it and carry yourself with integrity. So I teach my team, I'm like, it's called falling forward. You don't know what you don't know until you do it, and then learn from it. So that would be my biggest piece, is taking your ego completely out of it, understanding you're human, because the person on the other side is human too. So it's okay, you made a mistake, let's fix it quickly and make sure it doesn't happen again. And then you learned an incredible lesson, and you shouldn't be beaten down because you made an error. It's all learning.
Right, right. But I think what I would add is, like you said, don't make that mistake again.
Then
And
that's a
if you
habit. That's not a
right,
mistake. Habit.
right. If you do it again, then what? Is that how do you deal with that?
Oof. I guess it would depend on the situation. If it's a team member, then that's a disciplinary action for sure. But we just put so many systems in place. Every time we learn, we grow, we put another system in place to ensure that that does not happen again. So from an agency and a leader perspective, that's what we do. So mistakes don't happen twice. We learn from it, It's like human. It's also like in relationships, parenting, friends, romantic, husbands, wives, like we all make mistakes, but it's just admitting we made a mistake, taking accountability, and then making sure that that mistake doesn't come into the form of a behavior or a habit, because then it's no longer a mistake.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. That's the difference between making mistakes over and over again. It's not a mistake, right? It becomes a habit at that point.
That's it. And I would say like one of the big structural processes that we put in place, and I've been running ads for over a decade, servicing clients now for 5 years, and being on the client side of the bus, learning what is important and what is not important to receive from an agency. So we now send weekly updates to our clients, written in a way that our clients can digest. Because marketing lingo, like, does a client know what a CAC means or an LTV? Like, no, customer acquisition cost, lifetime value. Like, they don't know what that means. So it's like acronyms, but like make sure that the client can understand it. So we'll send out a weekly touch point on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for all of our ad clients. They get a tracker and an update so they know what their top KPIs are, which is mainly how many leads did we get at what cost and how are they converting, because that's really all the client needs to know. And then
Right.
also a Google Doc. I keep always wanting to call it a Word doc. I'm such a boomer when it comes to that, but
Yeah.
Google Doc that high level, this is what we did in your account, this is what we're seeing, and this is what we're going to do this week. Especially on the ad side, because if clients have never run ads before or they're not in their account, they don't know what's happening, right? And you're paying, you're investing in your ad spend and your management spend as well. So you shouldn't have to wait until the end of the month to see what those dollars did and if they did something or they did nothing, because that would be awful. You invested all this money, there was no communication from your agency, and then at the end of the month, halfway through the next month, you get a report saying, "Hey, these didn't work." You're like,
Yeah. Like
"What?"
what?
Like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Or you get the other side where you'll get a 20-page PDF every week with screen grabs of your account, marketing acronyms, lingo that you have no idea, and then you're just more confused. You're like,
Yeah.
"Well, I think it's working. Like, I don't know." So that was one of the biggest structural changes that we made over the years, and our clients love it because they just open it up within a couple minutes, read it, and they're like, "Cool, I understand what's
I know what's
happening."
going on. Yeah.
Howard,
You know,
and I feel about my investment.
yeah, yeah. I've had 3 experiences with 3 different ad agencies. Some big names that I'm sure you know that I won't name on the podcast. But, they were none of them were good experiences. None of them. The one I'm working with now is really good because I think similar to you, I think I'm her first client, and I'm sure she'll listen to this. And she is, and we have a really good relationship, and it's she, I have all of her attention, and we're gonna do great things together. But I've been the small fish in a big pond, like, oh, I can only spend X amount per month on the service and X amount, $50 a day on ads. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Okay. And then here's a little funnel. And I'll go through 3 or 4 account managers in like 6 months, you know? So I've had those experiences as well. And I think finally the one I'm working with now is amazing. I think we're going to do great things together, but it's such a hard, and I imagine, have you had that experience where you know, you've got, I mean, even in my service-based business in my firm, like if I've got my high-paying clients, right? I know I represent a real estate company that's gonna do, buy 10 deals a year, and we're gonna have, a $500,000 in legal spend. Then that's awesome, right? But then I've got the emerging sponsor that I'm representing that wants me to put together an operating agreement for $750. Like, you have to be able to give you my philosophy is I treat every client as if they're my only client, but it's really hard to do that when you have competing clients like that. Have you experienced that before?
As in, like, value of contract, you mean? Like, some are
Yeah, or
paying more? Is
yeah, or
that what
like
you mean?
you have a huge client that's spending, $10,000 a day in ads, and then you have this one client that maybe wants to spend $50 a day in ads, and then they have a lot less. You're gonna make a lot more money with the bigger guy than the smaller guy, but you have to treat them both the same.
So, that's actually different how I structure my ads, because I don't, from an integrity perspective, that type of payment structure doesn't sit well with me when it comes to ad spend. So different agencies structure their models differently. A very popular one is we'll do a base fee or a base strategy fee, and then it's a minimal monthly retainer plus a percentage of your ad spend, which I'm assuming is kind of what you're
Yeah. Yeah.
at. Where for me, it's like if our fee is the same, regardless of the ad spend. Where our management fee changes is if we're advertising different pillars or in different markets. That's when that management fee changes, not necessarily if the ad spend changes. Because the way that I look at it is I shouldn't be incentivized to get my clients to spend more money. I should be incentivized for my clients to make more money. So and then we scale it. So that leads me to our process in chatting to new clients, right? Understanding their business and do you have a business that I feel can support ads? And we talk through that on our Connect call. Like, what is the average value of your contract? What is your cost per acquisition that you're willing to pay to get that one new client? What is the lifetime value of that client? What's your conversion from lead to signing or purchasing? And then doing a work back formula from there, which we then say, okay, if you want to get X amount of new clients, this is how much we have to spend in ad spend to get there. Is that comfortable with you? And if it's not, then the business just doesn't make sense to run ads. So to me, that's an integrity piece on the agency side to give that empower the clients. And it's up to the clients if they still want to run the ads at a certain ad spend. Absolutely, of course. But if we're not empowering you with that very small piece of knowledge that we know, then that's unethical.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're not able to service a smaller ad spend and a larger ad spend, then you shouldn't have taken on one or the other.
Right. Right.
If you don't have the capacity to do it, then you shouldn't have taken on the client.
Totally. Man. When did you hire your first employee? How long into the journey?
My first hire, like big hire, would have been my lawyer and my accountant, my bookkeeper.
Oh, okay. Well,
If that's
those
what
are
you're
those are those are those are kind of like service providers. I mean, like, do you have either 1099 or employees of Stockall and Company?
So my team are all contractors.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
I
when did
have a
you
team.
when did you I imagine you were running ads yourself, right? You're just kind of in the trenches doing it yourself, and then at some point you're like, I need to hire somebody.
Yes. So my first was administration support. That's where I need it because I am so good at what I do on the ad side that it took me a while to find a skill set that I want someone better than me. Like that's what I'm looking for. I was like, I want someone better. I want someone that can teach me on my team. Like I never like to be the smartest person in the room, especially on my team. I was like, I want someone who's going to kick my butt and show me new things. So it took me I'm gonna say I didn't hire an ad expert till about 2.5 years in. So I still did the strategy and the technical. I hired the administration side of the business that allowed me to focus on the strategy technical piece. So I had account managers, assistants on the back end supporting getting the systems up so that I can spend my time on the strategy and with the client and in the platform until I found excellent experts that I felt good enough managing my clients' ad spend.
Gotcha. What have you found to be the hardest part of building a team?
So just showing up as a leader. That was my biggest thing, was I wanted my team to feel supported. Just because of my experience working corporate and of feeling not in all cases, absolutely not, but in some cases, just feeling like an expendable number and not feeling support. So it's like, if I'm gonna build a team, I wanna be a leader that I aspire to because I had some really great ones, and I had some really not so great ones in my career, and I wanted my team to feel incredibly supported, and most of my team are females as well. So females working in the corporate industry, you just sometimes just don't have that confidence. So I really wanted to mentor my team members so that they felt supported and then that they could grow. So that was, I think, my biggest challenge was the leadership piece because I wanted to be a killer leader and I wanted to help my team grow and thrive and make their dreams come true.
Right. So are you saying it was hard for you to kind of make that switch or to turn on that leadership skill or learn that leadership skill, right?
Learn it. Absolutely. Because I saw it, but I was like, "How do I get there? Like, how do I get there?" And I picked up behaviors from really great mentors. And one of them, as silly as this seems, if you're having a meeting, an in person meeting with your team, and you have your phone, put your phone away. Like just little tiny pieces like that just shows so much respect and understanding. And that was the things I didn't manage big teams, right? I had, I think, one direct report in my entire corporate career. And now I have this massive team. So I knew what kind of leader I wanted to be and what kind of leader I didn't. But I didn't have the training or the experience under that. So I was trial by fire. And going back to the ego, anytime I made a mistake or I said something, I took a step back, checked myself, and then called my team member and apologized. I was like, "I'm so sorry. I've never had this type of conversation before. I made a mistake. Can we have a redo? Can we talk this through again?"
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I really love that that point, especially about being a leader and being in a leadership position because just being a leader, okay, great, you're in charge, really means nothing, right? It means nothing if you're not showing up for your team and you're not providing the resources that they need, right? And for them to feel supported. And that's really good. I was going to mention I have this test of mine. It's really kind of for just hiring anybody. And what I say to myself is, because I feel like you can teach people most anything, right? You can teach,
Hard
right?
skills.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hard skills. You can teach that. You can teach that.
Yeah.
But can I miss a flight with you and sit at the airport for 8 hours while we wait for our next flight, or am I going to go crazy?
It's true. The
That's
vibe,
my test.
yeah, the
The
vibe.
vibe, the vibe
Well,
check.
because
That's what we call it. Yeah.
it's it's like you have a team of people, like it is hard to find good people and talented people in one. Like that is it's a challenging combination. So when we do find that unicorn, you're like, you're a good person, you're great to be around, and you're a killer at what you do. I want to do everything to make you feel valuable and keep you within, obviously, with the restraints of the business. But it's like you are my asset because I can't grow my business further without this skill set on the bus. And my internal turnover rate is almost zero because no one really leaves me because I treat them so well and they do incredible work for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You don't hear about that these days, especially in this, this gig economy that we have. Everyone's out there working for, moonlighting and working for all these people. Yeah, you never hear that.
No,
That's
and this was
amazing.
something one of my mentors, told me, "If you pay your people peanuts, you're gonna get monkeys." So
Oh, wow, look at that.
I treat them well, and I pay them what their value. And that's why they just don't leave, and it's great for the business because if that role was to turn over, for me to find someone, the time, resources, and money it would take to find them and rehire is not worth it. Versus just having someone who knows my systems, they know the clients, and they just, like, kick butt.
Right. Well, and the other piece of that is that means your profit margins are probably lower, right? If your spend on employees or 1099 contractors is higher than the industry standard because you're paying a lot more because you want good talented people to stay, that means you may be making less money.
Potentially, but we charge the worth of that skill set, right? Like, it's a very, very, very different, and that's something too I like to educate on in my LinkedIn content is pricing. Just because an agency is cheaper doesn't mean they're better. Like, I have connect calls all the time with business owners who come like, "Oh, well, why can't you run my Facebook and Meta ads for $1,000 a month?" It's like, "I can, I'm not gonna do a good job at it." Like, "Well, that's what I'm paying now." And how are your results? Your results reflect that, right? So it's like I have a great team. They're incredible at what they do. We, as you know, we mentioned previous, like we just leased up an entire apartment building for a client. We've sold out products. Like we do an incredible, incredible job. We have clients who do six-figure live launches, like our coaching clients. Like we do an incredible job. So that's our price point reflects that. Are we the cheapest? No, but we're very good at what you do and you get what you pay for.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I want to hear about that because I personally own a bunch of apartment buildings, and if and we we rely on apartments.com and Zillow, and that's really kind of how we advertise our apartments. But how are you? What other strategies are you using to fill up apartments?
So we do a lot of work in the property management space, property management development space. So whether that's commercial or residential, it really depends on the business model of the building and what the goal is. So are we breaking ground and doing a pre-lease up where you're looking to generate a wait list for the building, or are you currently in market and you need leases? Like yours, like my building needs space, like whether you have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% capacity, the strategy changes. And the other piece is how much the rent is on those places or how much those properties are worth, because that will dictate the strategy depending on what your marketing budget should be. Because if you're leasing up an entirely new build, your marketing budget is going to be a lot larger than one where
Right.
you're just looking to fill a few seats, if that
But
makes sense.
is this all through Meta and like social media advertising
Meta
we're talking about?
Meta and Google, and then there is the organic play as well, depending on what the building's needs are and who the client avatar is that we're attracting. So primarily, yes, it is really strong Google search, and then really strong Meta lead campaigns as well. So having those two pieces in play, and again, that's the platform, but it's the strategy engine behind it that drives, because Meta and Google make it very, very, very easy to run ads on their platform because they want to make it as easy as possible to get your money, right? So really, it makes it. I had a conversation with um, a new client earlier this week about that, and they're like, "Well, what's the difference? Like, I can just go in and do it." I was like, "Think of it like, say you're getting married, right? Are you just going to buy a camera and give it to Aunt Karen to shoot your wedding photos, or are you going to take that same camera and give it to a wedding photographer?" Right? Like
Mm,
it's just like it's the same thing with Meta. It's all about the operator, not
yeah.
necessarily not the platform itself, right?
Right.
So
And I imagine like I've got an apartment building in a apartment complex in Milledgeville, Georgia, college town, small outside of Atlanta. We're probably 70% occupied. We probably need to, we're about 72% occupied. So we need to fill maybe 14 units in order to be fully occupied. So you're saying you can develop an ad strategy to fill those 14 units that I guess, and Meta can be so specific. You can probably even just run ads in Milledgeville, right? Is that how you can get that granular on the strategy?
you can do that you can be that granular. The only challenge with Meta when targeting housing is you're then considered a special ad category. So your interest targeting it's very minimal, if anything, from an interest perspective. So you really have to rely strongly on creative and copy, like ad copy, and then how strong that sales funnel is to make sure that we're qualifying those leads. So that's a big kind of, I guess we'll say, secret sauce is the sales process and the funnel outside of just those lead generations. Because sure, any agency can get you 100 leads, but how qualified are those leads? What does that process look like? So Meta is a huge one because it's visually driven and you can target a specific radius. Google is a little bit more is higher intent because they're searching for, it could be the name of your building, it could be the name of your competitors' buildings, but mostly it's the search terms. Like what is that renter searching for on Google to find you? And then you can look at, marketplace placements and all these other things. But yeah, primarily Google and Meta are very, very, very strong.
Wow. I just had no idea. And do you I had no idea that you could do that for apartments. Now, do you manage the sales funnel as well? When you is that a part of your service?
We can, correct. So we can do everything from like full white glove management, which is creating that landing page that we send traffic to, the email funnel, looking at your CRM and setting up tags and deal stages. It all depends on what your needs are and what your team looks like. So that's also different how we work is, yes, we have packages that we start with, but everything is custom to the client based on their resources. Do you have a sales team? Do you have a marketing team? Do you have an email platform, that you can send automations to? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So we'll do this discovery to understand where the gaps are within your resources, and then we'll create a service to fill it.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So we can,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
platform and off platform, and then we'll
Right.
come in with my data expert to make sure that all of your data tracking is set up as well. 'Cause I'm a geek on data, and without the data, we can't. The marketing strategy is just fluff, right? So we're very, very, very deep ingrained into our clients' tech stack to make sure that what we're doing is actually affecting the business operations.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, let me ask you this. So, what kind of advice do you have for somebody wanting to start an agency today?
Like, to do what I do,
Yeah.
just make sure you have the skill for it, I
Have
think.
the what? Have the stomach for
Oh,
it?
the stomach for it, yeah, like the thick skin for it and the skill set to back it up. Because I feel everyone, or at least this is, talking to my friends who are in different verticals than me, it's, "Oh, a marketing agency is so glamorous." You get to work with brands, or you get to do brand activations and work with all these amazing clients, and it's like, yeah, like, it's really fucking fun, and, like, that's super cool, but that's the tip of the iceberg. Like, that's not all what is posted on social media. It is a 24/7 grind, and you have to love it. You have to love it, and you have to love working with people.
Well, I was gonna. That's probably your answer to my next question. But what skill do you think every entrepreneur should learn if you had to pick one?
I don't know if this is a skill set, but it is something that I come across a lot. Startups, like entrepreneurs when they're starting, they don't know their numbers.
Ah,
So if you're
like the important KPIs, or not even KPIs, but the important financial numbers.
yeah, and that would be understanding your numbers before you engage with a marketing agency or an FTE, like a full-time employee. Because this has come up a lot in our conversations, is speaking with businesses who are founder-led, they have a slim team. It's like, "Okay, well, do I hire an agency or do I hire a full-time employee?" And you can't make that decision unless you understand your numbers and know what you need first.
Ah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. Like, how much? What's your profitability now? How much are you spending on this now? No, I mean it's hard, and you they need to know that off the top of their head almost.
Yeah, and it's something when you're at that stage, it's, hiring an expert to build that foundation for you, where you can then layer on an in-house team member after the fact. So, understanding your numbers so you know where the gaps are in your business from a marketing, and then you know what level to pull. Because some entrepreneurs or personal brands outsource their social media too quickly. So
Oh, I
to
see.
fully
Yeah.
round this out, I would say if it is that talking this through the number aside from just knowing your numbers, because I feel like that's
Right.
just like baseline foundational piece, the organic social media. If you were a founder-led business, really understanding organic social, because if you can't talk about your business first, hiring an agency or bringing on a marketer isn't going to solve that problem, because if you can't communicate that to them, they're not going to know what to do with it.
That's good advice right there. It's really good advice. It's and on one of our calls that we were on recently, Breyer's got this opinion that ads are really going to go away, right? In the next 2 years or so, or it's going to become less like people psychologically, I guess, are just because everyone's been bombarded so much with ads in social media that people are just going to be fed up with them. No one's going to be clicking on them. It's going to be, and that organic is really the only real way to grow your brand and scale your business is through organic uh, content creation. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have the same view or?
If you are treating your meta ads like an ad, absolutely. The consumer knows when they're trying to be sold. 100%, right? So if you are throwing a poster, a static graphic up there, now sometimes they do work. I'm not saying they don't, because sometimes they do work. But it's all how the ad strategy is engineered. Because the customer doesn't like to be sold. The customer doesn't want to see an ad. They want to see something that they would normally engage with natively on the platform. So if you're coming up with a a strategy, your top, middle, your bottom, pulling people in, retargeting, and then selling them, I disagree because we've seen it. Like our whole ad strategy from a creative perspective has completely pivoted. There's no more need for high production, like full lighting setup, crazy camera gear. What we've seen convert best, iPhone, like this, talking head, just very authentic. The secret sauce is in the editing there, right? But that's so I agree with him on the fact that traditional advertising on Meta completely going away because people don't like to get sold, but it's having a solid ads manager who understands consumer behavior and how to create that full strategy to actually get people to purchase. Because I mean, we haven't seen things slow down. If anything, they've amplified because our attribution data points are so strong.
Yeah, and advertising is not going to go away. I mean, it's just not. It's a part of every business's marketing strategy, and everyone who's listening to this that wants to start a business, that is in a business that's struggling, marketing is a critical piece of anyone's growth, right? Any business's growth.
Absolutely. And if you have if you built your personal brand organically, like we've had some incredible speakers in the group who have hundreds of thousands of followers, and guess what? I'm getting targeted with their retargeting ads because that's you build this amazing qualified audience. Your content's not going to be shown to all of your followers, but you can set up a crazy good retargeting nurturing campaign to new followers, video watchers, engagers, and pull them through your funnel to make sure that they're doing what they do. Right. And that's across every speaker, almost every speaker that we've had, I've seen it. So so if you have a strong following, make sure you have a retargeting campaign because it's keeping your brand and your offer top of mind. And I will leave with, I know we're closing in on time here. One piece that has been critical for all of our larger follower accounts is if I always like to ask my clients, if Instagram goes away tomorrow, TikTok goes away tomorrow, what's your business going to be? Are you going to freak out if you have a launch and Instagram goes down that day? Because you don't own your audience on these platforms, Meta does. So our biggest take is how do we move that follower into our owned platform, which is our email list, and then do really strong email marketing. So that's how we kind of pull the two together.
Yeah, I've actually started the email marketing piece and nurturing that. Yeah, I'm and we
Amazing.
use Kit. Yeah, we use Kit. Kit's
Love Kit.
amazing.
Kit's the
Yeah.
best. It's so good.
Yes.
It's so easy to use.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's we're starting that as part of our marketing efforts as well. So that's amazing, man. Lindsey, you've got amazing advice. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about your services or follow you online?
Absolutely. Stockallandcompany.com is our website. So if you want to learn more about the business, check out our services, have a connect call by all means, click on our website. And that's the best bet to connect with me directly. You can also follow us on social media as well.
Great stuff. Thanks so much, Lindsey.